I formed Lomas Law PA back in 2011, right out of law school. This was a second career for me. I went to law school at the age of 45, and I've been practicing now for just over 12 years. I have a firm, my office is in Winter Park, Florida, and I primarily practice in divorce and paternity cases, family law cases. And I also do probate, which I know you do as well, Tom, but I also get into the fights that can sometimes erupt from probate estates. And I also do guardianship law, and there is also sometimes some fighting that goes on there between either siblings and about their parents, or sometimes professionals get in the mix
so, Christine,
for guardianship. And
I wanted to bring you on today because we get a continuing texts and emails and calls to us that involves guardianships, and that they always go something like this. Tom, my mom, my brother is living with my mom. We're finding out that my brother is taking advantage of my mother financially. He's in her house every day. He's convincing her to hand over money. He's taking charge of her bank accounts. Maybe mom even gave that brother a power of attorney. Tom, we think that our brother is ripping off our mom. He might be doing that by just having her sign checks. Maybe he's even used that power of attorney to take advantage of the mom, get mom's money, use it for his own benefit. Tom, what can we do to stop that? And we often say the answer might be a guardianship. What do you think about that, Christine?
Yes, often, unfortunately, sometimes that is the answer, whether there is a power of attorney in place or not. And unfortunately, I'm sure your listeners are well aware about the importance of a power of attorney. And what we're talking about would be more along the line of a durable power of attorney, which you've probably explained to your listeners over the years. And if whether brother has the power of attorney or not, if it appears that he's taking an advantage and that mom's money is being dwindled, or that maybe her health is not being properly cared for and things of that nature, then you want to look at, well, how's mom's mental capacity? You know, would she know things like who the president of the United States is? Does she remember what she had for breakfast? Things like that. And if you believe that the answers are no to those questions, then it would likely be that if he does have power of attorney, she's too far gone at this point to evoke it. The durable nature of a durable power of attorney allows for that power to remain beyond incapacity. So if you suspect that your mother is either partially or fully incapacitated, your only resort may be a guardianship in that case. That involves the courts. It involves quite a bit of expense, and it could result in a kind of a nasty fight there between siblings if that's what's going on. But if your biggest concern is the best interest of your mother and making sure that she's well cared for and not being taken advantage of, that may be your only recourse.
Christine, could a court award a guardianship simply because mom is under undue influence by the son that happens to live with her? Let's say she knows who the president is. Let's say she knows what the day of the week is and what her birthday is. But if we looked at her bank accounts, clearly son is taking mom's money to use for mom's benefit. Right. Would that in and of itself be a reason to do a legal guardianship?
Actually, no, you're not going to be able to. I tell people all the time, older people who still have capacity, they're allowed to make bad decisions. They're allowed to give their money to children. You know, it could be very well be whether you may be perceiving that this is the situation, but in reality, mom could be saying, well, I just really appreciate what your brother's doing for me. So if I'm able to help him out and it's not really hurting me financially, I'm going to help him. And that could very well be the case. You have this idea of a dutiful son and dutiful daughter when you get into these issues in court, that this wasn't really being taken advantage of. This was a mom wanting to thank her son for being there and helping her. with her health issues and her expenses and things of that nature.
Christine,
so
if somebody came to you,
the courts are there to decide.
Okay, Christine, if somebody came to you and said, Christine, my brother lives with my mom. I know that he's taking financial advantage of my mom. How would you go about even beginning to understand what mom's capacity is? Would you ever call mom or ask mom to come into your office so you might ask her some questions? How would you even begin to understand if you've reached the level of a guardianship yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do try to, when I have a concerned child come in and tell me this situation and they're not quite sure if mom has full capacity or not. Sometimes it could be just a partial capacity issue, and the court could make a determination that mom no longer has the ability to give gifts and manage her finances, but she might have the ability to make other decisions in her life. So in a situation like that, I will get with that child, and then I will ask that child if there's any way they can bring mom in, so that I can just meet with her and just kind of, I'm definitely not a medical professional, but I've been doing this long enough now that there are certain little questions that you ask, things like, what'd you have for breakfast? Things like, do you know who the president is, and what's the year and date? And if they don't know the date, do they know the season, and things of that nature, so that you can kind of get your own unprofessional sense of where this you think will go.
Hey, Christine.
But a lot of times, I was just going to say, a lot of times in these cases, that what I end up calling the bad seed, if we're going to, if it's determined that child is taking advantage, a lot of times that bad seed is alienating, not necessarily, sometimes alienating, but also sometimes restricting access to mom, to where they are not able to bring mom to me to have a little, just a little chat. And in that situation, then we have to just go on a little bit of blind faith there. And I've done that before. And, I've been right and I've been wrong as to whether or not mom lacks the capacity to where she would need a guardianship or not.
Meaning you have to go to the next level and file the legal guardianship petition and let the court and the medical professionals figure it out.
Right, exactly. When you determine that you think she at least lacks partial capacity and you want to move forward, it's an expensive process and it's very invasive. You file basically two petitions, one to become guardian and then the other one to determine the capacity or lack of capacity.
So, Christine,
the court will appoint. I'm sorry.
So far, we've been talking about a brother, a bad seed trying to take advantage of mom. But let's just say the kids wake up one day and they find out that mom's giving away a lot of money to different random charities that happen to be calling her or sending her mail. How would you, if the child contacted you and said, this is what's going on with mom, how would you handle that situation?
It's a fairly similar process. I don't necessarily see so much that money's being given away to charities, but there could be, I've had grifters. I've literally had grifters come in and infiltrate mom's world. And, maybe they're fixing things around the house and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden you see these large amounts of checks coming out of her checkbook or being processed through her bank account to this person for things that are definitely beyond, the money is beyond what this person is doing to assist mom. But sometimes people will infiltrate an elderly person's life that way. And I've seen that situation as well. And these do kind of lend to at least an initial belief that there's a lack of capacity there because mom is just not making good decisions. Sometimes I equate it to them staying up late at night on the home shopping network and starting to spend thousands of dollars on things they don't need and, things like that. And that might be a situation where something has to be done. And it may not be a person at all. It may just be mom herself just starting to make these bad decisions. And either she doesn't have estate planning in place that gives somebody already a power of attorney, and then now maybe she's too far gone where she can no longer now grant somebody the power under a power of attorney. That's what it gets to be. That's why those documents are so important, but also the level of trust of the person that you give that power to is so important. And even then, so you think, okay, I've done everything right. I've given this person that power that if something happens to me mentally, I know I can trust them. And then here we are in the situation where now my mental capacity is gone, and I'm thinking I can trust this person, and the power just gets to them, and they start taking little bits for themselves, and the little bits get bigger, and then all of a sudden you've got a situation where they're abusing their power under the power of attorney.
All right, Christine.
And in that situation, something needs to be done legally through the courts.
We appreciate you lending us your expertise. This is Christine Lomas with the Lomas Law Firm in Winter Park. Christine, tell the listeners how they might reach you by phone and through your website.
Yeah, my website is lomaslawpa.com. So it's LOMAS law, LAWPA.com. And our office number is 407-622-5020. Obviously, we're not going to be there again until Tuesday, but we're definitely welcome. We definitely welcome any calls from Tuesday on.
All right, Christine, we will continue to send you the guardianship cases that we get through our law firm here at Olson Law Group in Orlando. Christine, thank you for being on the show today. Have a great weekend.
Sure. All righty, you too. Thank you so much.
All right, folks. Hey, my name is Tom Olson. The name of the show is Olson on Law. You're listening to WDBO. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Thank you so much, Christine, for giving us your very, very insightful information about guardianships and what our listeners need to look for.